Okay, I'm not taking the list tonight, but I'll defer to whoever is. AK6R standing by.
Yeah, everybody, AK6R and the guys, WJ6W. Dave here in Tarzana, and I think I'm pretty close to being on frequency. Standby. Okay, now there's a little more power. And I don't need that much. I don't want to drive the 30L1 for distraction here. Good evening, everybody. And this is Dave, WJ6W in Tarzana, and we're running a TR7 here and a 30L1, and I'm going to take the earlies for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Let's see, I've got 3 of you down. I've been listening. Bon, good evening to you. I got you K6ZTA, then KB7LLQ Art, and then Bob, AK6R. I got you down. So, we'll get started. Is there anyone else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable? Come now.
Kilo, Foxtrot 6, Quebec, November, Golf.
Whiskey 7, Mexico, Sierra.
KD6X.
W8 Victor Golf.
November 4, Delta, Lima, Alpha. Oh boy, well, let's see if I got everybody here. We got Lisa. Hello, Lisa. KF6QNG. Had to write so fast, it's a mess here. And then, of course, Dennis is around, but he's hosting tonight. And then we've got Mike W7MS, NU6X, W8 Victor Golf, and N4 DLA. Let's see, I'm just writing down names here. Okay. Stand by, everybody. Okay, there we go. Very good. We got a very good start here. Let's see if there's anyone else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Come now. Okay, nothing heard so far, but I'm sure we'll get more. We have an interesting question tonight by Dennis. And let's see, Art, KB7LLQ, did I hear you say you're a real Helicrafters aficionado? Over?
Yeah, AK6R, excuse me, KB7LOQ. Yeah, I love Helicrafters. My dad collected them when I was younger, and he got me interested, and I got my SX62 and speaker for $25 when he took me to a ham fest in my late 30s. Although I'd been around ham radio all my life with my aunt who had muscular dystrophy and was a ham, and that really opened up her world. My dad taught her, and my dad was an electronics expert, so he helped me with ham radio getting started. But love the old gear and Helicrafters. What I'm on tonight I got from Mark, NU6X, around the Thanksgiving holiday, and recapped it, and yeah, just love it. AK WJ6W KB7LOQ.
Okay, very good. Yeah, well, I have one set up here. HT44, is it? I've had it in the closet for so long I forgot the model numbers. Well, anyway, in the matching receiver. So, anyway, I need to drag that out and put it on the air. I used to have it on the shelf where the drag gear is now, so it would be a little bit of work to get it going again. But anyway, very good. Okay, let's see. Is there anyone else who wants to get on the Vintage Sideband Roundtable early list? The group starts at 7 o'clock. Anyone who wants to get on, come now.
Hey, Dave, this is NU6X. Can you give me a debrief for this? Is a very old Viking sideband adapter, and I have no idea what it sounds like.
Well, Mark, it doesn't sound great. I copy you, but it's pretty muffled, bit distorted, pretty limited bandwidth. Lacks the high frequency. Sounds a little hollow, but it's working. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll have to go with what I have here. It's probably the filter that's in the space. Anyway, okay, we'll give this a try. This is a different position on the microphone, so maybe has a few more highs.
Yeah, that's better. That's a little better, but it, I don't know how it's supposed to sound, but it has a limited bandwidth. Let's see. I guess it sounds a bit like a carbon mic. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's a good microphone. That sounds great on other ACS, so he knows what this sounds like. Okay, well, this is what we'll be checking in with. This is AU6X. I'll be back at 7 o'clock.
Okay, Mark, no problem. We copy it just fine. Yeah, are you running barefoot?
No, I'm running, well, this thing only puts out 2 watts. I'm going into an amplifier and getting, I don't know, maybe 300 watts out of it altogether.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're about 10 over here, so, okay. Very good. So anyone else who would like to get on the list, come now.
WA6, Lima, Juliet, Romeo.
Okay, WA6LJR. Very good. Anyone else? Okay, well, let's go around the horn for a little bit and just everyone jump in and say something for the group to keep the frequency warm, and we'll check for some more check-ins. So, Vaughn, how's it going over in Woodland Hills? If you turn it over to Art, and then Art to Bob, AK6R, and then Bob to Lisa, KF6QNG, and then back to me, K6ZTA, WJ6W.
All right, WJ6W, K6ZTA. Yeah, oh boy. Well, things way over here in Woodland Hills are not much different than where you are. So I'll keep it short. But we had 31 degrees. I don't know. Did you notice that on the news here the other day? When we got up in the morning, it was 31 degrees over here. So this is like either the coldest spot in the valley or the warmest spot in the valley, depending on whether it's winter or summer. This is very typical of Woodland Hills. It's kind of a little microclimate or something. Well, that's my terminology. I don't doubt if it's considered a microclimate. All right, well, let's see. With that, over to you, Art. KB7LOQ, K6ZTA.
K6ZTA, KB7LOQ. I changed D104 heads. I'm wondering, Dave, if that made any difference or not. I was sick last week. I had a reverberation of the flu I picked up in Mexico during the Christmas holidays, and what a horrible event, but I'm over it. I'm feeling good. It's great to be back out in the radio room, and Dave, you've got to come out of the closet with that HT44 SX117. Beautiful rigs. Hi. Over there to you, Bob. AK6R, KB7LOQ.
Yeah, KB7LOQ in the group, AK6R. Very good. Everybody's signals are great tonight. And hello, Dave. Very good signal, great audio as usual. So congratulations on that as usual, I guess. But, yeah, we're just getting ready for the swap meet in Claremont. It's at the Granite Creek Community Church, if anybody wants to go there. It starts around 6 in the morning, and usually it's done by about 9:30, and we all go out to breakfast after that, the local restaurants, and have a good time. Sit around, talk, and tell lies, and wait until next month. So there you go. But got lots of stuff to sell. We picked up 2 more tower trailers this week, and we're actually going to keep those. because they don't require any permits or anything in order to put them up on different places. I run a couple of them here, and they're real easy to use. Anyway, over to Lisa. Getting your guy ready for the night tonight, Lisa. KF6QNG from AK6R.
Why, thank you, and thank you, Dave, for taking the earlies. Yep, he's all ready, as far as I know. Looks ready. So he's just chomping at the bit. So that's why I wanted to get on top of the list here, so he's not way down. Anyway, looking forward to the roundtable this evening. So with that, I believe it goes back to Dave. WJ6W from KF6QNG.
Okay, Lisa. Yeah, well, I'm glad Dennis is chomping at the bit to get going, so that's good. Look forward to hearing you, Dennis, on the net. And let's see, question. Art, your audio sounds fine. You know, I wasn't really listening with the other. You know, I wasn't listening that carefully, but I think you've got more articulation with this D104 you're using now. A little sharper, but you know, I wasn't really evaluating it when you were on before. But it sounds okay. And Vaughn, you know, we never got that low here. Maybe it's just to where my thermometer sensor is, but the lowest we got was 40. I check it every morning, and I would think at 31 you might see a little frost, perhaps, but it never made it that low here. I know that. But you may have gotten that low. Yeah, Art, thanks for the, I couldn't think of the receiver part number, SX117. Yeah, it's a nice rig. It's a lot of fun. I used to have it here in the lineup and used it, most of the time probably on this group. But I kind of put it away for some time there. Let's see, and very good on the swap meet, Bob. I wonder if you're going to be at TRW this time. I think I might try to come down. Not that that's a reason for you to come up, but maybe you have better luck over at Claremont there. Okay, let me check to see if anyone else wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Come now. K6RCL.
KF6Q.
KWM2, and how much different it might sound than the other rig. Okay, K6RCL, we got you down, DJ. Anyone else? The VFO. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, that's better. That should be right on. I got you, DJ, K6RCL. And for those who couldn't copy, this is the KWM2. It'll be my second rig tonight. Anyone else who wants to get on the list, come now.
NI6Q.
Okay, Brian, we got you. Anybody else?
WA7GIB.
WA9JIB, Bob, and somebody else I couldn't pull out.
WA7 Bravo India Papa.
Okay, Gary. Oh, you're really strong tonight. And was it JIB, Bob? Was that you?
Yes, it was. I thought you were down about 3 kcs from here just a few seconds ago. What's going on?
Oh, I switched over to my KWM2 and I had it on the wrong frequency, so sorry about that. We're back on 3895. Okay, well, one more time. Anybody else who wants to get on the list, come now.
W6YEC.
Okay, George, we got you, and I went back to the TR7, which is a little more solid. on frequency. Okay, W6YEC, George. Anybody else?
K6R, green light.
Okay, Skip. Well, we're getting quite a group here, and let's go through just a few more and see what everyone has to say, and then we'll pick up some more for this evening. Mike, W7MS, how's it going up there? How are we doing up there? Sorry, just a second here. I'm driving a 30L1 more than I want to on this TR7. Okay, Mike, if you'll take it and then turn it to Mark, NU6X. He might not be there. He was going to, I think, go away and come back at 7. Then it goes to W8 Victor Golf, George, and then to Matthew, N4DLA, and then back to me. So, Mike, W7MS, go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks, Dave. W7MS here in Reno. Yeah, that was my, I heard Mark make that comment that he'd be back at 7, so I guess we'll have to see on the handoff. But, yeah, good conditions tonight. And I wondered who the heck that sideband station was that was creeping in on 3895, and that was you. I made that assumption. It was an easy guess, but that always happens. And currently running the Drake TR5 and L7, which I think technically I'm in violation of the preamble by a year or two, but that was the brakes. But with that, let's see if Mark is available. If not, George knows it goes to he. So NU6X, W7MS.
Okay, this is NU6X in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. And let's see, maybe 200 watts, 250 watts out through the amplifier with about 2 watts to drive or 1.9 watts to drive out of this Light King sideband adapter. And very interesting, to work with the Valiant, but I have it directly driving it with a homebrew VFO that I made. And so the output tuners will be wide 7-foot. And that's going into a more modern low drive amplifier. So anyway, that's my story. I hope it sounds passable. And I'm trying to find my camera so I can get on the Zoom thing, but I can't remember what I did with my anyway, I'm not sure where it goes, so I'll send it back to WJ6W. This is NU6X.
Okay, Mark. Yeah, well, it sounds pretty good, and it's kind of neat what you're trying there. Pretty cool. So, glad you're having fun with it. Very good. Okay, it goes to George, W8 Victor Golf, WJ6W.
Very good, Dave. WJ6W in the group. This is George, W8 Victor Golf, out here in the old Pueblo, Tucson, Arizona, where it's not that cold. It's actually been warming up here lately. I guess we're supposed to get in the 70s tomorrow. That'll be a switch since we were down in the late 20s here about a week ago at night, and a lot of stuff got frost bit. Anyways, thanks for picking me up, Dave. I haven't been in here in a long time, and I thought I'll fire up the old Drakes tonight. I haven't had them on forever. I'm running my Drake Twins, the B-line, into an old Heathkit SB220 that I built from a kit in 73. The year the Watergate hearings were on TV. That's how I remember. Anyways, that's what's going on here. Let me turn it over to Matthew. I think he gets it next. N4DLA to take it. W8VG.
Thank you, W8VG and the pre-netters from N4DLA. Matthew is into California up north and pouring rain here, but in my former digs of Nashville, Tennessee, they got a foot of snow earlier this week, and I was only there 43 years ago this month. We got 2 feet of snow and it was 17 below zero, so unbelievable. I didn't think they'd ever get that much snow again. So anyway, looking forward to the dual rig tonight. So back to you, Dave. WJ6W from N4DLA.
Yeah, okay, Matthew. Well, certainly the rain is preferable to snow. That's for sure. And I wish we would get some of that snow you're getting up there, or rain, sorry, that you're getting up there or down here. It's supposed to be such a rainy year, but so far it hasn't proven out. So hopefully things will get better. George, the beeline drakes sound fantastic. And 20s. Wow. I haven't been in the 20s in years. So I'm glad it's kind of warmed up there. That's about where we're headed for. We've been in the 50s and 60s, so I think we'll hit 70 or so tomorrow here. So let me check for any more early check-ins for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Come now. Nothing heard. I think I hear something from out east, perhaps, but nothing heard locally here. Let's see. Let me check with Dennis. So, do you want to take the list yet, or would you like me to vamp a little bit more and turn it over to you later? Go ahead. W6DQ, WJ6W.
Yeah, WJ6W in the group, W6DQ. I've been copying along, so no reason to stop. I may have missed, is there anybody, I think Skip was after George. Was there anybody else before Skip?
No, there's George and then Skip. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, I'll continue on then. Let's take 4 more, and then we'll call for more check-ins, and then it'll be about time for the net. So, WA6LJR, Bill, it's your turn. Next, then turn it to DJ, K6RCL, DJ, and then to Brian, NI6Q, where I know it got cold. And Brian, turn it to Bob, WA9JIB, Evan La Cañada, and then back to me. So, Bill, go ahead, WA6LJR, WJ6W.
Oh, thank you very much, and you're very gracious. This is WA6LJR in, next door to Pismo Beach. You guys have a great signal. We're running the SB 221. I found it in a warehouse here locally. The guy didn't know what it was. But I'll turn it to DJ, K6RCL.
Oh, okay. LJR, K6RCL, DJ in Goleta. Good evening to everybody, and thanks for taking the earlies, Jay. And nothing much here, just sort of waiting for the net to start. Got to get back in, see if I got any grub on the table yet, so I'll be back at 7, so don't call me. And over to NI6Q. Go ahead, Brian, K6RCL.
Okay, DJ, K6LCL. And the group NI6Q here. Okay, excellent, good copy. Propagation is up and down. I don't know what it's going to do, but we'll find out soon. And good to hear everyone. WI9JIB, over to you. This is NI6Q, Flagstaff.
Yeah, hey Brian, NI6Q, the group, WA9JIB. Bob over here in La Cañada. And it's quiet. Signals are mostly pretty strong, copying everybody. So, well, this is the first year in many years when we haven't had that winter solstice over. We're getting to hear each other. So I guess that's a good thing, maybe, because we're in a better part of the cycle here, the sunspot cycle. Weather's lovely here in La Cañada. Very cool at night. Probably into the 40s, something like that. Today it probably got into the high 60s. So really nice. A couple nights ago, 1 in the morning here, local time, went out and watched a launch of SpaceX Starlink satellite from Vandenberg, from my front yard. And it was a beautiful sight. At that hour, 1 in the morning, you don't get to see the contrail, but you can sure see the exhaust from the rocket. And traced it from the horizon to all the way, probably 120 degrees across the sky. So that was a lot of fun. I happened to know of that one in advance, so I was able to position myself at the right place and time to see it. Anyway, looking forward to a fun net. WJ6W, WA9JIB.
Okay, Bob. very good. WA9JIB, WJ6W. Well, great. I'm seeing the Starlink from Vandenberg. Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard to get me up at 1 o'clock. It's hard to get me up at 7 a.m., but 1 o'clock's pretty rough. But it might be worth seeing, that's for sure. Yeah, we hope the conditions hold and don't suddenly change like they have in the past. But I've noticed that we have had the band go long, but it's come back during the nets, and I don't know, it's been less severe, I think, this year so far. So we don't want to get too confident. Okay, I guess we've got a couple of minutes before the bewitching hour here of 7 o'clock. So Dennis, do you need? Well, let me see if there's anyone else. Anyone else who wants to get on the list? Come now.
Kilo Whiskey 1, November Golf.
November, Yankee 6 Lima, Hesperia.
Okay, we've got KW1NG Ken and J, NY6L. Anybody else? Okay, Dennis, I would say it's about time to hand it off. And do you need any fills on the list? I have a feeling you have everyone. Over.
I think I'm good to go. I got everybody on there. It looks good, and we're all set. Dave, where would you like me to put you on the list?
Oh, anywhere in the first half dozen or so, whatever you feel.
You got it. Take care of that. I'll put you. Let's see. I guess I could put you right with. I'll put you right after Bob, AK6R, so that's number 3. All right, let's see, I think I should be transmitting. Hopefully we're doing good. Okay, let's get this thing. I'm going to go ahead and start early. Welcome, everybody, to the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is Dennis, W60Q, located in Inyokern, California, and I'm the host for this evening's Roundtable. Tonight, the station I'm using for the first round is a KWM2A, the 312B5, external DFO, with an auxiliary receiver of a 51F1, using the Alpha 87A amplifier with that KWM2A, and we're talking on an SM3 microphone. So that's the setup here. I will switch to a different radio for the second part. We meet here every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. with an informal gathering at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time to record an early check-in list that will be relayed to the host station for the roundtable this evening. This roundtable meets on or about 3895 kilocycles, plus or minus. Of course, we want to try 3892 first, depending on whether the frequency is occupied or QM is present. Of course, variations in our vintage VFO, and I'm pretty darn close to it. Looking at them a little bit low, so you probably have to retune a little bit. I'm looking at the monitor here on a little off frequency. To check into the roundtable, you must be using a radio that was manufactured in or before 1980, or be homebrewed with equivalent technology. Transistor tube or hybrid radios are welcome as long as they were manufactured in 1980 or before. However, if you're a first-time check-in, you may use a modern radio for the purpose of inquiring about joining this group and obtaining a vintage radio. This group is a great resource for finding and repairing vintage equipment. We encourage vintage radio newcomers. New check-ins will automatically be moved towards the top of the list. We have a website at groups.io/G/vintage-SSB with many station photos and files regarding vintage SSB equipment. We also have that email reflector from groups.io. If you'd like access to the website and the reflector emails, send an email to Mike, K6ZSR, and his address is mike@k6zsr.com. We also host a live video simulcast on Zoom, and of course, you know all about that. Just send me an email, w60q@aarl.net, and I'll send you the information you need on checking into that. Just make sure you identify yourself so I know who you are. Let's see. We have a discussion topic that we call the question of the evening at each roundtable. You are invited to participate as part of your check-in. Tonight's question of the evening will be announced shortly. If you have any suggestions for future questions of the evening, please email them to mark@esedona.net. And of course, at the end of the roundtable, we'll award a golden cup. And that's to give it to the roundtable member who's singled out because of some outstandingly interesting, funny, informative, etc. comment or comments made during their check-in.
before we begin, do we have any announcements only of interest to vintage single sideband radio? And I have one, but I'll save that for a minute and see if anybody else has any announcements. Go ahead.
AK6R.
Yeah, Bob, go ahead with your announcement.
Yeah, I just wanted to announce there's a lot of vintage equipment that shows up at the Granite Creek Community Church swap meet this Saturday. If you don't know about it, it takes place from about 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning. And last time we had about 40 vendors, and there was more vintage gear than you could speak at. And I'm also bringing a whole bunch of stuff too. So if you're interested in vintage, that's the place to be. So thanks, Dennis. Back to you, AK6R.
Okay, Bob, very good. AK6R, and this is W6DQ, host for this evening's roundtable. Okay, my announcement has to do with the barbecue. I've tossed around a few dates. We're kind of settled on the Saturday, the 27th of April. Saturday, April 27th. And we'll get some more information out on what's to transpire, but put that date on your calendar and plan on coming out here to the Indian Wells Valley to join us for the barbecue and play radio. So that's my announcement for this evening. Let's see. Now, tonight, guys, we've got a dual check-in format, as you know. So the first check-in is just going to be a roll call of members already on the check-in list. So you're going to reply with your name, your QTH, and a brief description of your equipment. When we come back and do the second check-in, you're encouraged to switch to another vintage radio. It's optional. You don't have to do that. If you don't have another rig or don't want to make the switch, it's up to you. But we're going to go ahead with the first round, and then we'll proceed with those the check-in stations, and then before we do the second round, I'll announce the question of the evening. So I'm just going to do a roll call, and we'll just move down through the list. So you can give me your name, location, and what you're using for your first check-in. So first on the list, I've got, before I start, let me do one thing. Let me see if there's any more check-ins for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is W6DQ, the host. Nothing heard. Okay, so first on my list is Vaughn, K6ZTA. Over to you, and then back to me.
All right, Dennis, thank you. Yeah, present and accounted for, so you can count me in. W6DQ from K6ZTA in Woodland Hills, and the handle is Vaughn, Victor Oscar November, and the rig is the 100V, driving the SB220 up to an inverted V at 55 feet. Okay, that's it. W6DQ, K6ZTA.
All right, Vaughn, very good. Sounds good. Next over to Art, KB7LOQ. Go ahead.
Yes, very good, Dennis. KB7LOQ here. I am on an HT32A that I obtained from a fine fellow in Sedona, Arizona, driving a B&W PT2500A amplifier and listening on a Helicopter's SX101A and talking into a D104 microphone. Back to you, Dennis.
Okay, sounds good, Art. Next up, we've got Bob, AK6R. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Non-vintage tonight, just checking out all my radios I'm taking this weekend. I'm on an Alinco DX77. Normally, I'm on a Cantronics KT80, which is pretty rare, too. Anyway, back to you. Thanks.
Okay, Bob, sounding good. All right, Dave, your turn. WJ6W, go ahead.
Yeah, this is WJ6W, Dave in Tarzana, California, running a KWM2 on the right frequency, I think, this time, and into a 30L1 amplifier. And so back to you, Dennis.
Okay, very good, Dave. WJ6W. This is W6DQ, host for tonight's roundtable. Okay, I'm going to do the second group, and of course, we're going to start with Lisa. You know what we're running? Maybe I should tell everybody. Okay, I'm going to tell everybody what we're running for our first radio. Well, I guess I already did. The KWM2A. She's using the same stuff I'm using. KWM2A 312B5. So, and we're all located here in Inyokern. So we all know that. Over to Mike, W7MS. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Dennis. W7MS Mike in Reno, Nevada. Great signals from everybody this evening for actually round 2. Round 1, I ran a TR5,
more appropriate, but maybe slightly illegal with a TR7A. And listening on an R7 receiver and all the accoutrements and accessories sitting here on the table except maybe the CW75. So that's it. Back to net control, W7MS.
Okay, Mike, very good. TR5. That's interesting. That's kind of a rare radio, if I recall. But very good. Over to Mark, NU6X. Go ahead.
Okay, this is NU6X in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. And hopefully I'm somewhere close to being on frequency. I'm on a Viking SSB adapter that was designed to be operated with a Valiant or something like that. But I'm feeding it with a homebrew VFO, getting out a grand total of about 2 watts, and that's going into a solid state amplifier. The receivers, I hear it, RF550. That's RF550 Harris. I had no idea when it was built. Sometime in the late 70s, I'm going to guess, but maybe Brian in I-60 will know more on that. And so that's the setup here with my 250 watts out with my RF kit amplifier. And with that, I'm not going to be back for the second round, Dennis. And so thank you very much. Back to you. I forget who I'm supposed to send it to, so it's going back to you, Dennis. W6DQ in U6X.
Okay, Mark, very good. It just comes back to me, and then we'll just keep it rolling here. Let's see, very good. Well, it sounds okay. You can tell it's not quite up to snuff, but it's working. So there you go, Mark. So have a good evening to you. Over to George, W8VG. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dennis. W6DQ, here is George, W8 Victor Golf, out here in Oro Valley, Arizona, about 10 miles north of Tucson, the old Pueblo, and I'm running a Drake B-line tonight here, and driving a Heathkit SP220 that I built in high school in 1973. Back to you, Dennis, W6DQ, W8VG.
Okay, George, very good. W8VG, this is W6DQ, host this evening for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. Sounding good. Sounding good there. Everybody's sounding great. Let me move into the next group of 4, or actually I'm just doing one at a time, so don't ignore what I just said about group of 4. Sorry, guys. Next up I've got N4DLA. Matthew, go ahead.
Matthew in Orinda, California, about 15 miles east of San Francisco, running a Tentec Argonaut 509 with the Model 405 linear, about 50 watts out. Tentec Electro Voice clone ribbon mic, coaxial dipole for 75 meters sloping down from about 60 feet. This is the first rig that I bought when I was first licensed in 1977 at age 15. Been with me ever since. Back to you, W6DQ N4DLA.
Matthew, very good. That's nice. First setup. That's cool. Sounding good. Next, we got Bill, WA6LJR. Go ahead. WA6LJR. Bill, are you there? No joy. Okay, we'll come back and try again. DJ, K6RCL, it's your turn. Am I getting out? DJ, K6RCL, do you copy?
Yeah, you're doing fine.
You wait for dinner.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Okay, Brian, NI6Q, go ahead and pick it up.
Yes, okay, Dennis. Well, thank you for doing the roundtable tonight, and this is NI6Q here, Flagstaff, Arizona, where it's not snowing and it's not too cold tonight, not even freezing point, I think, at this point. So there we go. The first round is Barker Williamson 6100 with the Barker and Williamson LP1A, I think, or something like that. Amplifier 75A4, receiver, doublet antenna. So that's it. Back to you, Dennis, NI6Q.
Okay, Brian, very good. Nice signal here. Nice signal. Okay, so NI6Q, W60Q host. Next on the list, I got Bob, WA9JIB. Go ahead.
Okay, W6DQ, the group, WA9JIB.
This is Bob. Location here is La Cañada, California. Kind of near Pasadena. And the rig starts with a Kenwood MC50 microphone into a Helicopter HD32B. B for Bob. Paired with his mate, the SX115. That's 30-pound nice on it tonight. R48 speaker, centered an inverted V dipole. Fitted with coax, hanging off a 35-foot mast. W6DQ, WA9JIB.
Beautiful. Sounds great, Bob. You sound really good. Next, I've got
WA7BIP. Gary, take it away.
Yeah, W6DQ. This is WA7BIP, Gary and Duarte. And I'm using tonight my trusty, dependable radio, which has gone on my sailboat for many years. Got it in 1980. It's the Kenwood TS130S. And can't say anything bad about it except the panel lights are all gone. I got to replace those. But having trouble with radios tonight. They're dying on me like crazy. So my TS130, my TS830, I still haven't done a problem with that yet. My Drake receiver is still got a bad transformer I got to replace. And anyway, you know how the story goes. But we'll probably be on this radio next time around. How's that sound? W6DQ, WA7VIP.
Okay, Gary, very good. Well, you sound good. Next, I got George, W6YEC.
Hello, Dennis and the Net, W6YEC, here in Lemon Grove, and good evening to everybody. Just a shout out for Phil. Keep him in your prayers. He's in the hospital, was having some urinary tracking problems, so anyway, he wanted me to let you know where he was tonight. Anyway, he should be, I think he'll be okay. So, running the TS520 Sugar tonight with an MC50 mic, and also the 30L1 amplifier, one of our favorite vintage setups. Back to you, Dennis, W6YEC.
All right, George, very good. Well, sorry to hear about Phil. You'll have to extend our greetings to him and hope for a speedy recovery and back home. So let him know that we're thinking about him. But you're sounding good up here. Good combination. Next, we got Skip, K6LGL. Take it away.
Okay, Dennis, thank you. W6DQ, November Southbound Group. K6 River, Green Light, Skip in Santa Monica, mine 902 DM, and the amplifier running 572Bs into a homebrew dipole antenna. Okay, we'll try to get on with my Swan equipment there. And thanks for running the net, and Dave, thanks for doing the otties. So, back to you, Dennis, and say hi to Lisa if she's home. K6LGL.
All right, Skip. Yeah, she's sitting right next to me. K6LGL, very good. And this is W6DQ, host for this evening's Sideband Roundtable. Next, Ken, KW1NG. Take it away.
Yeah, very good, Dennis. Thank you for running the net tonight. I'm going to make this my one and done because I've got a nice hamburger and some fries waiting for me that just got delivered. So, but we're here. This is Ken in Alpine. We're about 30 miles east of San Diego at about 1,800 feet. We're running the S line, the 75S3C, 32S3, the 30L1, of course the station monitor and the power supply. I never remember the numbers for those. And out to a 92-foot inverted L long wire with a Bob's 9-to-1 bullet at the bottom of it. So that works really well. I like it. Just a note to the group, KN6 IYC, Larry, is going to be the recipient of a Gonset GSB 101 amplifier that my boss had in his garage that he wanted to clean out of his garage. So we arranged it to get it to Larry later this week. So he'll be on vintage with an FT 101 and the GSB 101 amp. So that's it for me tonight. 730, and back to you, Dennis. W6DQ KW1NG 730.
All right, Kent, very good. 7-3 to you. Enjoy your evening. Sounding good on the S line as always, and hopefully we'll see you Friday night. I'll probably talk to you about that before then. Let's see. Next up is Jay, NY6L. Take it away.
All right, very good. Good evening to all.
NY6L, Jay here in Hesperia. And the first round, we're running the Alda 103 best, right? With the Alda hand microphone. And we're putting out about 60 to 67 watts on peaks. It'd be interesting to see how my audio and signal report is, if you wish. So that's it to you there, Dennis. Thank you for running the net. NY6L Hesperia on the Alda 103. All right, Jay, very good. NY6L, this is W6DQ hosting this evening's roundtable. Alda 103 sounds great. You're booming in here. You're over S9. So that's pretty amazing with just 67 watts on your peak. All right, it's time to switch to our second radio. I'm going to give you guys, stand by. Okay. Lisa was motioning me for something. But anyway, we're going to switch over to your second radio. I'm going to give folks maybe about a minute or so to tune up, make sure everything's working okay, and I'm going to be doing the same thing here, switching to my second rig. So we'll see you back here in about a minute, and then I will announce the question of the evening. This is W6DQ, host for this evening's Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Apologize. You're right down at my noise level, so I caught that you were calling me, but I didn't catch the call sign or what the question was. Can we? You want to try it again? Try and pull you out. I'm not able to copy. Can somebody relay?
Whiskey Alpha 7 Juliet X-ray, I think.
Okay, and he had a question?
This is Ray 7JJD. I'm sorry not to see any better. I just happened to hear that you were all using antique radios. Is that correct?
Yes, we are operating vintage radios.
Oh, okay, that's great. I'm so sorry to intrude. I'm running Eaton HW101 here.
Very good. This is KB7LOQ. Very good on operating the HW101. And Dennis, did you copy his call sign? Maybe we can stick him in the rotation. KB7LOQ.
Yeah, I'm just not copying him very well, Art, but I've got him on the list here. What was his name there?
Sir, go ahead with your name, please.
I think he's hearing me okay. What was the handle there?
Handle here is Bruce.
It's Bruce, B-R-U-C-E, Bruce.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Art. KB7LOQ, W6DQ. So I've got Whiskey Alpha 7, Juliet X-ray. Well, hopefully, if conditions approve by the end of the roundtable, you're at the end of the list here. But we'll get you in. Actually, since you're new, I'm going to put you up at the top of the list, towards the beginning. But I need to get over to my other the second radio. So I'm going to stand by here. Give me a minute, and I'll be right back. This is W6DQ, switching radios.
WDKX, if you're listening, you need to check in, NI6Q.
K6LGL, Santa Monica.
Is this frequency in use?
Yeah, the frequency's in use. This is W60Q back with second radio. Let me see if I got the frequency. Okay, we've switched to a second radio, and this is the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is W6DQ host, and I'm going to go ahead and read the question of the evening. And this is, I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, but if you saw the email, you know what the question is. But most, if not all, modern SSB radios have some form of speech compression, if I can speak English. Speech compression does have advantages, such as increasing your average talk power. But the question is, do you use a speech compressor with your vintage sideband gear? If you do, what are you using, and do you feel that it helps? If it doesn't help, if you think not, why not? Why do you think it doesn't help? And for the record, we're only, I mentioned this before, we're only talking about high frequency and medium frequency single sideband, not AM, and not anything above 30 megacycles. So there you go. That's the question of the evening. We're talking about compressors and whether you use them with your vintage gear. So here we go. I'm going to do this in groups of 4 like we normally do. This is the second check-in, so if you switched radios, let us know what you're running. I will tell you right now that I am running the S-line here, 32S3A, 75S3C, and a second 75S3B, along with the 30S1, 30 Sugar 1 amplifier out to the horizontal loop at 50 feet, and using the SM3 microphone on this guy as well. So that's what we're running here. So going to go through the list in groups of 4, starting with Vaughn, K6ZTA. You're going to give it over to Art, KB7LOQ. Art, give it to Bob, AK6R. And Bob, please give it to Dave, WJ6W. And Dave, give it back to me. So take it away, Vaughn, K6ZTA, and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ.
Okay, Dennis, I got it. W6DQ, K6ZTA. Yeah, well, we're still on the same rig we had before, so there's no news there. And we have never used any kind of compression with a vintage radio. I use it with my ICOM rice box, but not with anything else. And somebody, I think, brought up the question of whether you want to put something on the front end of one of these vintage radios that would do that, some kind of I guess audio processing. I doubt if you couldn't do RF compression that way. Anyway, just a quick comment to say that I hope Phil is doing better. I hope Phil gets his buns out of that hospital quickly. And the other thing is, Dave, it was never 31 at my house. In my patio, it's a covered patio. It never gets colder than maybe 37, something like that. But what I saw that on the TV, that Woodland Hills was 31 degrees, and I believe that's measured at Pierce College, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, onward and upward. Over to you, Art, KB7LOQ, K6ZTA.
Yeah, very good, Vaughn. Great signal in here. K6ZTA, KB7LOQ here in lovely but cold St. George, Utah. The base of the Zion National Park here. Yeah, I switched rigs. I stayed with my rigs obtained from a fine fellow in Sedona, Arizona. I'm using a Kenwood TS 820 into a Ameritron AL80A, which will eventually be replaced by a vintage amplifier, and using an old Kenwood MC50. I hate to admit it, but most signals sound better on the 820 than the SX101A. Hi. I want to shout out to Mark. You're 10 over 9 here in St. George. Good signal. And Brian, NI6Q, when you came on, you almost had to buy me a new speaker. You're blasting in wonderful, wonderful audio. Yeah, Dennis, I'm interested in the barbecue and anything related to that, and thanks for taking the net, and Dave for the earlies. I do not run compression on vintage rigs. The 820, I think, is the only one that has the opportunity. I've always found that it degrades the audio quality, and if I have to run hard compression to be heard, really don't want to do it. Not a contester. However, I have the setup to do it, and eventually we'll probably do external processing on a lot of these vintage rigs. I certainly do it on AM. Okay, very good net tonight. Over there to you, Bob. AK6R, KB7LOQ.
Yeah, KB7LOQ in the group, AK6R. Very good. Very good, Art. Good signals from everybody tonight. I couldn't hear the last guy on the list very well either, Dennis, so I guess antennas are pointed the wrong direction. But anyway, same rig as I had before. And as far as audio processing is concerned, I used to use the, I guess it was a 328 audio processor, which had every dial you could think of for audio on it, and it was a rack mount unit, and I used that both on AM and sideband, and that was because the vintage rigs didn't have the audio bandwidth and also the equalization that the external units did. So we used that quite a bit. And I sold all those when I got rid of most of my AM gear. But on sideband, even now with the vintage gear, I use a little box, and it's made by UR6QW. He's a guy in Russia, and he makes that box, sells it for about $100 on eBay, and it's got every control you can think on of it. But it's great for increasing your low end or your high end, or just equalizing out your voice. It's also got a compressor on it, and if you really want to, it's got an echo on it too, made for the CB guys, but also some delays built into it. We're not using it tonight, but that little box makes a remarkable difference. I was a contester for many years and still get involved with it, and the compressor made a difference, I'll tell you, because you're running small bandwidth, typically 2.4 kilohertz, and you need as much oomph as you can get to break through the other guys that are right next to you. So a compressor definitely helped. Gave you an extra 3 dB of effective signal as far as my experience is concerned. Anyway, thanks for running the net tonight, and Dennis, and thanks for Dave for taking the earlies. I'll catch you guys later next week, and hopefully we'll see some of you at the Claremont swap meet. So over to you, Dave. WJ6W, great signal as usual from AK6R.
There we go, AK6R, and the group, the Signal Sideband Roundtable, WJ6W, here in Tarzana, and we're back on the Drake TR7 and the 30L1 here tonight, and that's what we were running most of the time during the early check-in. So Bob, you sound fantastic. You don't need anything else on your audio on that rig over there.
But in answer to the question, I have some external processing on all my rigs, and it's sort of accidental that it's on the sideband rigs. I installed it for AM on my Super Senior and my Gonset radio, my old Gonset radio, and I used to have a 32V2, and that needed some equalization and help, the 32V2, and the AM needs limiting to prevent overmodulation. So I have this professional broadcast gear. It was thrown out by a broadcast station that's so outdated many years ago. But anyway, it's a CRL system, Circuit Research Labs, and I feed my audio system into that, and then it's processed and limited and then fed to a distribution amp which goes to all my radios. So the sideband is just kind of a byproduct of how I distribute the audio. Does it do any good? Well, I get generally good reports, and I haven't tried like Bob. Well, I don't do really contesting to speak of, so I don't know. I haven't tried any A/B checks or to see if it gives me any edge in outreach, DX, or any of that. So I'd like to do an A/B where I could turn it on and off, but the knob that's supposed to do that broke. Well, it just doesn't work. I think it's frozen inside, so I have to leave it in line. Anyway, I'm not convinced it does a lot in the type of transmissions I make, just nets and conversations like this. So that's the story from here, and I'll send it, I send it back to you, Dennis, W6DQ, WJ6W.
All right, Dave, very good. Yeah, you do always sound really good, and I kind of figured you had some kind of processing going on, and notably, you use a common audio chain for all your radios. That's kind of a cool idea. Let's see. So yeah, it does sound really good on the TR7, and I was getting worried that you didn't come back right away. I was hoping you were not gone. Hope you were coming back. So I'm glad you made it back. Let's see, Bob, the 528. I like the 528. I've got one of those here. I had never thought about using that on the sideband side. I'll have to play with that, see what it does. Both Art and Vaughn commented no speech processing, no compression at all. So that's good. That's a good way to go. Let's go to and you mentioned, Bob, you mentioned the UR6QW. I'm going to have to investigate that one too. Check that out. We'll see what that's all about. I think that's the first time you've mentioned that. So thanks for that little tidbit. Next it goes over to Lisa, KF6QNG, and then it goes to W7MS, Mike, and Mark stepped away, so it'll go to George, W8 Victor Golf, VG, and then we'll send it over to Matthew, N4 DLA, and Matthew, you can send it back to me. So Lisa, I'm going to pass it over to you. KF6QNG and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is W6DQ.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, for hosting this evening's roundtable. Good evening to one and all out there. And, Dennis did the rundown on the rig, so ditto what I'm running. And as far as compressors, we wouldn't have any clue. So, anyway, we let Dennis handle all that technical stuff. So, I take care of the finances, he takes care of the radios. There you go. So with that, I'm going to send it on over to Mike. W7MS from KF6QNG.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I got a good chuckle out of your comments that you are the administrator of finance, and he's the hardware guy. KF6QNG and the Vintage Sideband Net, W7MS, Mike in Reno, Nevada. And I changed to a Rockwell Collins product. I had this on Friday night. It's the RU20 man-pack transceiver, about 20 watts to my home-built GU84B amplifier, which is producing about 700 to 800 watts out PEP.
via 3dB attenuator on the input. I know that Dennis will chuckle on this because just like the HF380 or the 380 equipment, this puts out a nice spike and initial key down on the ALC and trips out the amplifier. So I think without the pad I'd be around 1500, but it doesn't matter. But it's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? It's that problem's everywhere. But chose this radio also because it has an internal compressor based on the fact it's a military commercial radio. It has a fixed microphone gain. It's fixed within the innards of the radio. And most all this commercial stuff already has the compressor installed, not largely to increase talk power, but just to keep the audio level somewhat within reason based on various microphones and operators. So as far as the specifics of operating compressors on vintage equipment, I would say no. And a prime example was I wanted to demonstrate my SP75 compressor with the TR7, but since it has never been used since I initially acquired it and cleaned it up and cleaned the switches, I discovered that I've got dirty switch issues, and it really was itchy, scratchy. So we canceled that demonstration. And of course, there's the other issue of really atrocious speech processors, and the RF speech compressor in the 380s are famous. Since if they're set up properly, they work relatively well, but if they're set up for a specific audio level and a specific microphone, but they have their own issues, and you know, it's all part of the collecting or acquisition. Some of the stuff's internal. You've got the sideband engineers processors for the S-line radios and the KWM2s and the Drakes. And I ran across in a pile of freebie stuff here a couple of years ago, one of those JW Millen compressors, RF compressors that were imported from Japan back in the 70s and 80s, which for a couple of years were the speech compressor to have back in the days when compressors were external to the transceivers. So that's the setup here. And over to George. And thanks again for running the show, Dennis. W8VG, W7MS.
Very good. W7MS. W8 Victor Golf, George down here in Tucson, and I'm a Drake guy, so I switched over to my other Drake here. I'm running my TR4. Hopefully it's on frequency. It looks like it, sounds like it. Yeah, it's just sitting here right next to the B line, so all you got to do, it's on its own AC4 supply, so I just got to switch over here. Still running the SB220 though. Have never run processing with vintage gear that I can remember. I came very close to buying a processor for this TR4. Back in the 70s, there was some here today, gone tomorrow, fly-by-night place that made a processor for this TR4, and they were called DX Engineering. And I can't remember what the nomenclature. It plugged into the back here and had another little box. I came very close to procuring one of those because I had heard good things about it, and it was back in the days when I thought I wanted to chase DX on sideband, but never did. I think they, what was that called? An LC4, maybe LC2? I'm sure you guys can, some of you guys remember it, but have never, didn't do it, didn't partake, and haven't done it. Anyway, so that's as close as I've come with the old gear. Of course, we have processing in my modern rigs here, and over on the AM side, I've got a bunch of channel strips and that kind of thing. Anyways, let me keep her moving here. Goes over to Matthew, N4DLA to take it, W8VG.
Thank you, George. W8VG from N4DLA. Matthew, I'm now on the Atlas 210X. Running about 100 watts into the same antenna. We're using a Shure 444 microphone. And back about 1978, or I guess 1979, for $5 at a Hamfest in Maryland, I got an MFJ Super Logarithmic Speech Processor, the LSP520BX2 for double I. And I hooked that up to a D104 and plugged it in the Ten-Tech Argonaut, which I was on earlier with, and talked to my local group on 10-meter sideband, and they told me to get that thing off the air. So it's never been on the air since. So that was the end of my speech processing, at least from the Mississippi's finest you-know-what. I do have two other rigs that have built-in speech processors. It's interesting, they started building in speech processors about the same time, or the modern rigs, as the manufacturers installed CW keyers, internal CW keyers. It's kind of interesting that both kind of went in at the same time. So no, since my equipment got old enough to be vintage, that speech processor is just still sitting on the shelf, just not doing anything. So back to you. Thanks for running the nets. W6DQ from N4DLA.
All right, Matthew, very good. N4DLA in the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ here. Okay, I'm going to flip that switch. There we go. And, okay, Atlas 210, 210X with 444. Sounds good. And, let's see, George was talking about the, actually a couple of you have talked about DX Engineering speech compressors. Yeah, Lima Charlie 1. I've got one here, but it's not installed. It's just sitting on the shelf. I don't know if I ever will install it. We'll have to see. I don't know. But yeah, so George, a lot of folks here saying no speech processing, but I think that's probably going to be the way of the world here in this group. Is most of you are going to say no. I will just comment about my own equipment here that I don't have a speech processor connected to any of my vintage gear. Mike, I don't have the speech processor in my either of my KWM 380s. I do have a speech processor for the TR7A that I have, actually TR7 and TR7A. I do have that external speech processor, but I don't have it hooked up. The only speech processors are on the modern rigs. My Yaesus and I've got a couple of Yaesus and of course the Flex. I do use the processor on the Flex. I think it really helps on sideband, even just normal QSO chat on single sideband, it helps. But working DX, they have some special settings on there that really kick it in, and I really like what that does. It, like Bob was saying, narrowing the bandwidth and getting your average power up is good if you're working DX on sideband. So, all right, well, everybody's really sounding great tonight. Conditions are good. I'm going to go. Let me take a quick break and see if we have anybody else who'd like to check in. This is W6DQ, host for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable, standing by.
Whiskey 6, Juliet, Bravo, Romeo.
Okay, Whiskey 6 JBR. That's a familiar call. Have you been with us before? I think you have.
Yes, I have, and you actually shepherded me on the Sunday net, I believe. I'm on the Collins KWM2 this evening, and if you put me in the lineup, I'll give you an update on the equipment here, Dennis. So thank you for taking my call. W6JBR.
You got it. Yeah, I recognize the call, but I just, it's like everything else when you get old. You just can't remember stuff. But okay, you're on the list, and what I'm going to do, Bruce, I want to find out if Bruce, WA7 JJX, are you still here with us? Go ahead. Okay, Bruce, I'm still having a tough time copying you, but do you want to weigh in on things here? You mentioned you're running a Hot Water 101. We got that. What about, where's your QTH? And let's see if I can copy you. You are a pretty rough copy here, but I wanted to get you in the rotation here towards the middle. So go ahead and take a turn, and when you're done, go ahead and just give it back to me. So WA7JJX, this is W6DQ for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable.
be part of that. And I got the call, the correction on the call there, Bruce. Thank you. Whiskey Alpha 7 Juliet Delta. I got that. But I was really unable to copy. You're just really right down at my noise level. So do stick around, listen to the roundtable. I'll try calling you again at the end of the list and see if conditions have changed at all. But I encourage you to come and join us again. We're here every week, every Tuesday at the net. The roundtable starts at 7, but we start taking early check-ins at 6:30. And we always have a question of the evening. And we've got a great group of people here. As you can hear, there's a lot of different radios, a lot of different gear, and we have a lot of fun with it. So hopefully you'll come back and join us again. But I will give you a call again towards the end of the list here. I want to see if conditions have changed at all. So let me stand by. I got JBR on the list. Okay. Let me see it. WA6LJR, are you back? Are you with us, or are you gone? Okay, I'm not hearing Bill, so I'm going to mark him as having left the building. He's gone. What about DJ, K6RCL? Are you back?
K6RCL.
Outstanding. Beautiful signal. DJ, go ahead and take a turn. Tell us what you're running, and I should repeat the question, but did you get the question? Go ahead.
Yeah, about compressors. W6DQ K6RCL, DJ Goleta. We're running about 100 watts to an Omni 6 right now. And also, Fars compressors, I've tried a few of them. I typically do not use them. I have one radio, a modern radio, that does have all that stuff in there. And sort of worked with it a little bit, but typically don't use them, and I don't need it on CW for sure. So, I think they certainly have their place, although I do have, some boxes here I've used over the years. I do have a processor on most of them, but I never use it. But other than that, that's about it. And I won't hold it here because the band isn't that great for me, and it's probably not great for anybody else because I'm only running 100 watts because I'm not in the garage now. It's just too cold out there. So with that, back to you. W6DQ. And by the way, Dennis, thank you for taking the net. And for Jay taking the earlies there. K6RCL, DJ in Goleta.
All right, DJ, very good. You got a nice signal here. It is your 100 watts is doing the job. Your Q5 S9, no problem at all. So thanks, and yeah, that's another no. Okay. All right. So we got you back. I'm going to go with the next group of 4. Let's see, starting with Brian. Oh, by the way, DJ, that was Dave taking the earlies, WJ6W, not Jay. Just a little correction there. But first on the list, I've got Brian, NI6Q, then over to Bob, WA9JIB, and then down to Gary, WA7BIP, and Gary over to George, W6YEC, and then George back to me. So, Brian, take it away. NI6Q and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ.
Yes, okay, Dennis, W6DQ in the group. This is NI6Q here, Flagstaff, Arizona. And, very interesting roundtable tonight, and thanks for hosting, Dennis, and thank you, Dave, for doing the early. So this is the second rig here. I'm using a military Harris RS280. And it's barefoot, so it's 150 watts right now. That was probably produced in the early 80s, and being a military rig, it does have some built-in processing. It's interesting to see that testing this radio with any kind of microphone would produce exactly the same audio. So that's what they were trying to do. With any kind of microphone, I guess, make same level and same speech, I would say,
characteristic. So that's that. Running 150 watts for this one. It's interesting to see that with the other radio that I used previously, the Barker & Williamson 6100, there is a double ALC operation, ALC being kind of a format of AGC to kind of process down the peaks on the sideband. This particular radio has a double loop, and I'm kind of reading the manual here where they're saying that the slow ALC bus signal holds the gain between words, and the fast time constant of the second follows the rapid variation of each syllable. So it's interesting that they actually have two amplified chains of ALC of different, constant, slow and faster, to be recombined afterwards and to basically control the level that is delivered at the base of the 6146 output stages. So it is compressing the signal, but it's a really nice way to do it, and actually very complicated like everything else in the 6100. So there you go. I think this is what I had to say. I wanted to tell DJ that you're received very well with your 100 watts there, so no problem at all. And everybody else is just Q5. And some of them Q5 S9s of 20. How about that? WI9JIB, Bob, over to you. This is an I6Q flex stuff.
Okay, Brian, N96Q in the group. WA9JIB, Bob over here in La Chiana. I'm on the same rig, the Helicopters SSB 115. Once I turn them on, they're just so beautiful, I can't turn them off. What can I say? The end of the evening festivities. And SX115 is really nice. Yeah, I love it when the band is kind of quiet, signal strong, turn the RF gain down, and all I hear is signal. So it's really nice. Okay, on to the question. Short answer is no, but no with a but. So I don't have any outboard speech processors. The only one I have in a vintage radio is built into my Yaesu FT101E. And I have tried to use it, but it doesn't work worth a dang. And the only time I would use it would be like in a DX file up or something like that. And I have never gotten in contact with it that I couldn't get without it. As far as I'm concerned, it just does nothing useful for me. Now, that could be that it's either just a lousy speech processor, or for some reason it's not adjusted right. I don't know. If anybody has experience with the internal processor in an FT101E, and that experience is positive, I would sure like to hear about it. So anyway, I'm a little soured on that processor. I'm not soured on processors in general. I once did an experiment with my friend Bob, K6DDX, now an S-Silent T, and he was running those Kenwood TS940, and he kicked in his TL922 amp, and went up, 6 or 7 dB or something like that. And then he turned the amp off, and he kicked in his speech processor, and he went up 6 or 7 dB. So the processor in that radio for that one experiment was as good as going up from 150 watts to legal limit. So anyway, if I could get a processor like that, I'd use one. But I don't have one like that. Okay, so over to Gary, WA7BIP, WA9JIB.
Okay, Bob, thanks for turning it over to me there, and good to hear from you. And thanks, Dennis, for taking the net. And Dave, to hear you on the early check-ins too. This is WA7BIP, Gary in Duarte, California. And we're running, we didn't have a radio to listen to tonight. Because the only one that's working is vintage. And that is right on the cusp. It's like 1980.
when I bought it. And it's a Kenwood TS-130F, a bare bones radio, no microprocessor in it, and should everything fail, you still have the analog dial to read it out, and nicely designed radio, that's for sure. Yes, it does have compressor in it, and I am using it. I use compressors if they're on the radio, and especially the radios I run power levels of 60 to 200 watts, and if I got an amplifier, I might tend to leave the processor off because I got the punch there with the amplifier. And one of these days, I wired 220 everywhere else in the house. One of these days, I'm going to wire it here to the shack and get my page, get the 220 amplifier on the air. Then you guys can all hear me better. So, multiple processors. The only processors I have are in the newer vintage radios, hybrids, and this 130F, and I don't think any other radios have processors in it of the Helicopters or Drake gear that I have. So with that, I guess it goes to George. It's just about from last week, George. You turned it over to me last time. So W6YEC, WA7VIP. Take it away, George, and let us know how you're feeling.
Yeah, okay, Gary. So 130 sounds very nice. I have worked on many of those radios and used to use one in a car. And nice radio. Very good. Thanks, Dennis, for taking the net. We're running the Swan 500 for our second radio, no letters. There's an Electro Voice 638 microphone. And probably peaking up around 300 watts or thereabouts. And we have a lot of fun with this on Saturday night with Skip and the boys on the Swan net. Anyway, to the processor question, my answer is the same as Art. The processor or the compressor is not that good, I don't think. It produces lowers the quality of the audio. But it can come in handy if you don't have an amplifier. But using amplifiers with our setup here, why would we need a processor on it? Anyway, that's my answer to it. Let's see, Dennis, I think I'm supposed to give it back to you. W6DQ, W6YEC.
And that is correct. W6YEC in the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. W6DQ here, host for this evening's gathering. Well, very good, George. It sounds great. Your 300 watts are doing a superb job. You don't need an amplifier, that's for sure, and no compression. Gary, your signal is quite good tonight. You're very loud here for a change. So conditions are extraordinary this evening. I think Bob, JIB, mentioned that he was talking about the conditions this evening. So you're sounding good with the 130 using the internal compressor. And Bob, you were talking about the internal compressor in the FT101, that you have tried using that. I can't remember. It's been so long since I used an FT101. I've got like 3 of them here in various stages of disrepair. I need to get one of them working and get it on the air. But that may be another project in the oncoming weeks. But I don't remember if I ever used the processor in it or not. I ran it primarily mobile when I was using the FT101s. So I don't recall using the processor. And Brian, the RF-280 sounds good. Interesting about the ALC in the 6100. I'd never run across that before, so that's an interesting technique. Maybe that 6100 always sounds really, really good. So it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive radio. Always like the sound of that. So 150 watts is doing the job getting here too, by the way. You're still S9. And DJ, as I mentioned, I'll say, DJ, I got you before that, but yeah, your 100 watts is doing just fine here as well, as somebody else mentioned. I think Brian mentioned that. Okay, let me get the next, I got the last group here, and I'm going to start with Skip, K6LGL, and it's going to go to JNY6L, and then to WA6JBR, and if you'll give it back to me, and then I'm going to try and see if Bruce is still with us again. I want to try one more time. So, yeah, W6JBR, and I apologize, I can't recall your name. You'll have to fill me in on that. I'm just dense tonight. But Skip, take it away. K6LGL and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable is W6DQ.
WA6JBR.
Oh, Ken checked out, I thought. Okay, Skip, go ahead. K6LGL, are you there?
In the microphone, K6LGL, running Swan 500 Charlie X-ray, CX, about 300 watts, electro-noise 638 microphone, production doubler antenna, touch the driver line. So that's the story on this particular setup. I don't use much compressors, but I do like speech processing because by nature I have, as I get older, my voice gets lower, and I could use a little bit more highs in my voice. So something like the W1IH processor, where you could boost the upper mid-range and the mid-range somewhat, helps me. So I've used the speech compressor and the universal amp, which is well designed, and one of the better jobs that was done on that. But, you know, that's something 11, 12 years later after the start of 101, it's the final culmination of the series. So, speech processing, yes. Speech compression, probably no. I don't think it's necessary for most of the classic rigs if you've got fairly good signal. Computation DX, anything that gives you a bit of a nose is an advantage. So, and since I've been out of the DX business for a number of years, I don't really need it. But I do like certain other speech processing, but compression, it's usually not necessary for the classic rig. Okay, this is over to N1 Peak Sound. And by the way, thanks, George, for the voice notification of that N6WHD show. Appreciate you, George. And we'll see you all on the Swan Net Saturday at 7 o'clock on this frequency. So, N160 and the Vintage Roundtable. K6 little green light.
Hi, good. Thank you very much, Skip NY6L here in Hesperia, and we're on the Atlas 215X, all running about 66 or so watts DET. And, all right, none of my vintage radios have any speech processing or any of that kind of type thing. None of the Atlases I have, nor the Alda 103, nor is my Collins S-Line. So there you have it. So we'll just keep it short, sweet. And I'd like to see if I get a signal report also on the Atlas 215X. And Dennis, you're blasting me over here in the high desert. So, all right, over to WA6 JBR, I do believe. NY6L Hesperia in the high desert.
Thank you for NY6L in the group. Here's W6JBR, no A, just Whiskey 6, just barely readable. Hi. This is John, JOHN. I'm located in Oceanside, California, 6 miles from the beautiful Blue Pacific. And I'm talking to you on my beautiful KWM2 this evening. For those of you who may have known him,
this is from my good friend Rob, WA6GYG, who you may know used to work at RF Parts, and he also was known for repairing Swan, Cubic, and Atlas equipment. By the way, your Atlas 215 sounds fantastic. I had you as solid 5.9 on the S meter here on the KWM2. And tonight I'm also running it with a Shure 450 microphone. And I actually do have the vintage compressor that I acquired for both the Drake and the Collins equipment here. I move it between the active radio manually, and it's a Waters Compreamp. I kind of bought it on a whim. It was an eBay special, and when I first installed it, it didn't seem to do a darn thing. It was, whether it was switched in or out, it had no effect. So I opened it up. I'm a retired audio engineer, and I always dig into these things. And the first thing I checked were the electrolytic capacitors, which were no longer capacitors. I didn't find a schematic for it online. If anybody has one, I'd like to obtain one. But I did guesstimate a couple of values and replace the capacitors, and now it seems to affect some compression on the audio. I'm going to put it in, and then maybe NY6L, since you was such a good copy here, maybe you can tell me if the audio is clear, and if you also can detect any change in the quality or the signal strength. So this is the Compreamp in now, and it's really hard for me to tell since I don't have a transmit monitor, but I seem to be transmitting, and now I'll take it back out. Looks the same on the plate meter. So let me send it back to you. I think that was that Skip NY6L. Can you give me a report? Over.
All right, NY6L. Well, I can tell you a little bit of compression does change your audio characteristics, but with it off, you sound more natural. So there you go. NY6L Hesperia.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Well, as long as I'm making RF and it's clean, that's the main thing for me. But I do have this compression device. It's the only thing I'll use with the vintage gear, and it doesn't seem to do much harm. It might be more effective if I had the right capacitor values in, or there might be some other changes to it. The other equipment I'm running tonight, I am input to an HF2V butternut vertical, which has the elements for 80, 40, and 20. It will also work on 10 meters, 15 meters as well. I do not have radios for it as of yet, so my SWR is a bit high, quite high actually, on 80 right now. So I am using an external tuner, but I am in the preparation of putting in radios, the new grounds for it, and radios. They're all prepped and ready to go. I just had a couple of projects to perform prior to that. So I don't want to hold it up further, but I want to wish everybody a very happy New Year. I'm especially happy to hear George W6YEC on the frequency, and I'm glad that you're back in action. And I also thank you, Dennis, for taking my call tonight as well as on some other occasions. So this is John, W6JBR, back to net control, W6BQ, W6JBR.
All right, John, very good. And thank you. You've got a beautiful signal up here. The KWM2 is doing a great job. It sounds very nice, and you're hitting about 10 over 9, believe it or not, here barefoot on the vertical. So that's doing just a great job. And I kind of agree with what Jay said about the compressor. I'd forgotten about that. Waters Compreamp. I remember those. That's another one. I've been making a list here of folks commenting about external compressors. But it does make a difference, and I'm seeing there's a lot of the conditions are kind of changing a little bit, but from what I can see, if it makes any change at all, it's about an S unit down when you're not using it on average, what I can tell. So
but you're still putting in a great signal here, no problem at all. And Jay, the Atlas 215X is sounding great. 66 watts, you're just pounding in here. That's pretty amazing. And Skip, your 500CX sounds like you're having some audio problems with it. There's a lot of distortion on it, so you may have something going on there, but I was able to copy everything you said, so no problem at all. And an interesting comment that you made, and I think that's something that no one else has mentioned in particular. We've talked about processors and compressors, and of course the question was about compressors, but the truth is processing, I probably should have worded it about processing and talked about things like EQ, because that's really what you're talking about, is adding some equalization to get the contour right for the microphone that you're using with any particular radio and your voice. So you're saying yes to processing but no to compression, and on these vintage radios I think that's a good stand on it. So with that, I want to see if there's any more, if anybody else would like to join us. Let's see if we get any late check-ins, because we are getting late here. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and do the final rundown, and we'll go from there. This is W60Q, looking to see if there's any final check-ins or comments. Go ahead.
WA6JUS.
WA6JUS. John, hey, good evening. Why don't you take a turn? Tell us what you're running, and if you use compression, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, this is the Galaxy 300. It does not have processing. However, I have the Collins S line that's waiting to be brought into operation from my uncle Art up in Billings, W7IWW, and let me tell you, it has a processor to die for. I used it once when I first used that system way back. It goes with a 32S3C, and it has a processor called a Magnum 6. And it's like a little it looks like a little miniature Collins S line with 3 knobs on it, same color scheme. And you pull out one of the tubes in the chain of the transmitter, and pull that tube out, and you put in this pin out, and there's 3 cables on that tube pin out that goes to the unit. And I used it, and someone told me that I sounded like the Wolfman Jack when I turned it on. It was quite something. I was, that's too rich for my blood. But anyway, maybe you could have fun. You could look on the internet and find the Magnum 6, like a gun, just like a pistol, a 6-shooter gun. It's called the Magnum 6. Back to net, WA6JUS.
Oh, very good, John. WA6JUS, W60Q host this evening for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. And the Magnum 6, that rings a bell. I do remember that from back in the day. We got to look at that one, too. Wow. Yeah, I've forgotten all about that. There's a couple of other ones that I know that are out there that I've seen over the years, but they just can't recall them. But I think Skip said it right, that we really don't need the compression on these old radios. They do pretty good without it, unless we've got something specialized that we're trying to do, like work in DX, as others have said. Bob talked about that a little bit, using narrower bandwidth and speech compression to get the punch. I'll tell you what, I really don't have any criteria for awarding a Golden Cup this evening, so I'm probably going to pass on that. But what I will tell you, looking at this, I'm going to share some stuff off of here that the preponderance is that we don't use speech processor, or not speech processor, but speech compression on our vintage radios. Virtually everybody commented that, unless in the case of some of the commercial or military gear, it's built in, and you're using it anyway. And both Brian and Mike MS made comments about that. And yeah, so the idea you could use any microphone, have any kind of voice characteristics, and it's still going to work. So that's an important aspect of a commercial or military type radios. But most everybody was saying no to compression, which is interesting. But I've got a list here that I compiled of what you guys were talking about in terms of processing and compression. And of course, we talked about the 528, which is an audio processor that both has compression, limiting, and equalization. And I've got one of those here that I use. It's not in use right now. I may play with that, see what that does on sideband. That might be kind of fun. But Bob mentioned the 528. He also mentioned UR6QW as an external processor. I want to look into that one. We talked about, let's see, John just mentioned the Magnum 6. We talked about the DX Engineering processor that they made years ago. The LC1, which was a speech processor that worked with the S-Line and the KWM2. Let's see, we talked about what else here. Somebody mentioned an MFJ processor, and I don't recall who that was. I missed that in my notes here, but somebody did mention that. Don't recall who that was. But anyway, it's an interesting list. I want to look over some of that stuff. But yeah, I prefer not using it on here, and if I'm going to use processor, it's on my new stuff, like on the Flex or the FT1000 Mark V or the FT1000D. I do own, as I mentioned, a speech processor for the TR7, TR7A, which I don't use. The processor, that is, not the radio. I'm going to get that TR7A hooked up here one of these days. It's working, sitting on the desk, ready to be hooked up. So we'll get that on the air soon. Anyway, this has been great. Great conditions tonight. Everybody has had some great responses. Appreciate it. A lot of great radios on the air here tonight. Everybody's really sounding good. And I really appreciate everyone joining in. I want to say thanks to Dave for taking our early check-ins. And George, thanks for George W6YEC, mentioning about Phil. Do extend our regards from the group to Phil for a speedy recovery and get back home. It's no good being in the hospital. We want to hear him back on the air next week. So with that, I'm going to say 7-3 and a very good evening to everybody. And we're going to officially close this Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable for this week. Good night, all. W6DQ will be signing clear.